Okay, so when you think of a camel, what pops into your head? A huge sandy desert, right? The famous ship of the desert. But what if I told you that its real story starts somewhere you would never ever expect? Get ready, because this animal's journey is one of the most surprising tales in the entire natural world. So where does the journey of this ship of the desert kick off? You're probably thinking the Sahara, maybe the Arabian Peninsula. And yeah, for thousands of years, that's where its story has been tied up with our own. But that's not the beginning. Not even close. All those deserts we picture, they're really just the final chapter in the camel story. To find the beginning, we have to rewind the clock. I'm talking millions of years, and we have to go to a completely different continent. Believe it or not, the camel story starts right here, in North America, about 7 million years ago. From there, its ancestors went on this epic migration, crossing the ancient land bridge of Beringia over into Asia, and from there, well, the rest of the world. So this ancient American original, Camelops hesternus, is the granddaddy of all modern camels. What's just so incredible is how this one species set off this global chain reaction, spreading out across continents and totally reshaping itself to survive in these wildly different places. You know, scientists have this cool name for animals like this, a joker animal. It's an animal that doesn't just put up with a new environment, it physically transforms to completely master it. So as it spread, one branch evolved into the two-humped Bactrian camel, built for the freezing cold of Central Asia, its two humps acting like a built-in furnace. The other branch? It headed for the heat of Africa and Arabia, becoming the one-humped camel we all know. And get this, both embryos actually start with two humps, but in the Arabian camel, they fuse into one before it's even born. But, you know, it was the scorching, brutal desert that really turned the camel into a masterpiece of evolution. This insane environment forced a complete redesign, giving it a set of almost unbelievable physiological superpowers. I mean, this animal is a walking masterclass in survival. Everything about it is designed for the desert. Its long legs, they create a pocket of cooler air under its body. It's like natural air conditioning. Its wide feet are basically snowshoes for sand. It can eat thorny cacti without a problem. It can literally seal its nostrils shut in a sandstorm. And that famous fur, it isn't for warmth, it's insulation against the sun's brutal heat. So how successful was this desert design? Well, think about this. A staggering 94% of all camels on Earth today are the one-humped Arabian kind. It is the undisputed champion of the desert, and really the star of our story from here on out. And what about its performance? A single camel can walk 250 kilometers in one day. To put that into perspective, that's like walking from New York City all the way to Philadelphia, and almost all the way back again, through a desert, in 24 hours. Just incredible. And then there's its most famous treat, right? The water. A thirsty camel can drink up to 30 gallons of water. We're talking over 170 small water bottles in just 10 minutes. And the secret is in its blood. Its blood cells are oval-shaped, not round, which lets them flex and soak up massive amounts of water without bursting. It's genius. For millions of years, the camel was the master of its own destiny. But then humanity showed up and saw not just a wild animal, but a key to conquering the desert. And this is where their stories get tangled up, forming one of history's most extraordinary partnerships. So about 4,000 years ago, our stories finally became one. Humans domesticated camels, and they very quickly became this incredibly precious commodity. By the 1st century BCE, they were a luxury item, something the rich would rent out. Just 100 years later, records show a single camel was worth 8 times more than a donkey. It was basically the original high-performance vehicle. So why was it so valuable? It's simple. For desert nomads, the camel was the ultimate all-in-one package. A horse gave you transport, but not food. A cow gave you food and labor, but not really transport. The camel did it all. It was your vehicle, your grocery store, your tractor, your tank, and your clothing factory. No other animal could even come close. There's this old saying that just captures the relationship perfectly. It was a total win-win. The camel provided everything for the human, and in return, the human gave it direction. You see, for all its superpowers, the camel actually has a really poor sense of smell and can get lost pretty easily. So the camel driver, the human, guided it to that precious water and food, and that created this bond of total trust and mutual survival. But this ancient partnership, forged in the harshest place on Earth, it was about to face its greatest challenge in the modern era. The arrival of new technology would force the camel down two very different paths, leading to two completely opposite fates. Look at Australia. Camels were brought over in the 19th century to help build infrastructure, but when the job was done, they were just let go, and their incredible survival skills totally backfired. They became a feral pest, threatening the entire ecosystem. But in Arabia, as their practical use started to fade, something really remarkable happened. They were transformed into this cherished cultural icon. There's this fascinating irony that the historian Richard Bulliet points out in his book, The Camel and the Wheel. For centuries in the Arab world, the camel was so good at what it did that the wheel basically disappeared. But in the 20th century, the wheel came back with a vengeance in the form of these powerful 4x4 trucks, and they could finally outperform the ship of the desert. So what happens when an animal's entire job just becomes obsolete? Well, the camel adapted one last time. But this final transformation wasn't physical. It was cultural. It evolved from a tool of survival into a powerful living symbol. Today, the camel is celebrated like never before. It's the star of these high-stakes racing festivals and even these extravagant beauty pageants. Ancient songs and poetry about the camel are now actually protected by UNESCO. This isn't about practical use anymore. It's about identity. It's a way for new generations to connect to that ancestral story of survival, to touch the same resilience that allowed their families to thrive for centuries. So, the camel's 4,000-year-long job as our partner in this struggle against the elements, it's come to an end. The ship of the desert has been decommissioned. Its practical voyage is complete. And that's really the final, crucial thing to understand here. We might not need the camel to survive anymore, but we absolutely need it to remember. It has transformed from a beast of burden into this living symbol of resilience and of our shared history. Its journey isn't over. It has simply moved from the desert sands into the landscape of our memory.